Yeah, for sure. So, uh, just growing up, I start back with elementary school, pre-K, all that stuff like that. So I went to Catholic school my whole life. Elementary school, middle school was a little combined thing. So it was like pre-K through eighth grade all the way. Then going into high school, I went to a predominantly white high school in Hendersonville, Tennessee, named Pope John Paul II. Uh, you know, uh, Going into college, it was sort of that same atmosphere. Going to Sanford University down in Birmingham, Alabama. I mean, we had UAB, what, probably like 5-10 minutes away from our campus, but it was, a predominantly white school. You wasn't a lot of black people. All the black people that you did probably see were, you could 9 times out of 10 they were an athlete. So it was, that's how I grew up. And meeting my girlfriend Sam, it was just one of those things where before we had even spoke and I had even really introduced myself to her, she had played basketball. She was an athlete with Sanford women's basketball. And somehow I ended up finding out that she was from Somerset, Kentucky. And one of the things that my junior year in high school, we had visited up there, and before I, like I said, even knew her, before we even knew what college we was going to, we had crossed paths and like didn't, not speak or anything like that, but we had crossed paths. I played against her brother in high school in a little basketball tournament. So I was familiar with her city a little bit and, some of the stuff that was up there. But yeah, man, it was one of those things where that was one of the first things that we had, talked about and clicked with. And then from there, it's history. We've been dating, what, 5 years, going on 6 this upcoming February. So, yeah, man.
Mhm. Well, congrats on that endurance in the relationship, man. I feel like
Yeah,
these
for
days,
sure.
that's especially kind of this speed dating culture. And I feel maybe it's tapered off a little bit. I don't know with the Tinders and the Hinges. I saw a Hinge commercial somewhere. I was James shaking his head, said, "No, it ain't tapered off." Okay, well, because we spoke about that on the episode before, just the orientation or the mindset of a lot of people our age and our age range, where it's like
Yeah,
they either want to cut directly to the chase, the chase sequence, or they were either looking for something so extreme in the long term where they're sitting down with people like, look, next person I'm with, I gotta marry them. They gotta bear my children.
yeah,
This, that, and the third, and it's like, whoa, where's the space to kind of just vibe, and feel things out a little bit. So that's dope to hear that y'all been together so long. Now, growing up, going to a Catholic school, how would you say that shaped your how did that shape you socially, and how did that shape you culturally?
so it was, you know, one of those Catholic school. Are you talking about like high school, or you talking about more like elementary and middle school? Because at that time, you just going to school, you just excited to see
Mm-hmm.
friends and everything like that. Really excited for PE class, which most of us
Yeah.
were. Not even doing like division, all that stuff like that. So uh, I'll talk about more like high school. High school, it was just like okay, you know culturally we had this thing and it was just why I don't know, but it was just this thing that we had at lunch called the black table. So that's where all like the black people used to sit, like and it wasn't, I guess it was sort of segregation that we was doing, but it was just like not really, just because we that's who you connected with the most. So I could talk about, certain stuff that was going on in pop culture, the hip hop culture. Like, shoot, we could talk about the BET Awards that was
Mm-hmm.
upcoming, or something like that, that I couldn't talk about with, my white friends. And that's no disrespect to them, but like, they just can't relate to me because they didn't even know what BET was, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So, uh, that culturally, it was just one of those things where that's who you really gel with. But like I said, I gel with everybody in high school. It was one of those things where, shoot, being the athlete that I was, and people knowing that I was gonna go play Division I ball. It was just like, okay, like, man, let's hang out with Nick, or we want to do
Mm-hmm.
something with Nick. So, uh, man, socially, besides outside of the classroom, I really didn't even like really hang out. I didn't go to parties and stuff like that. Like you would probably be surprised. I didn't really have like my first like drink of alcohol or anything until like my senior year in high school. So
Mm-hmm.
at that point, you know, freshman through junior year, I was just concerned with getting a scholarship. Once I sort of got that scholarship and everything like that, everything had started to pretty much just change. It was just like, okay, like, look, like now you're gonna get to you listening to my parents and everything. They had sort of sheltered me away from that and just kept me focused on uh, what I needed to do in order to get that Division I scholarship to go play football, because they knew my goals, and I mean, everybody in the school knew my goals. So uh, I wasn't afraid to tell anybody, look, no, like I'm not doing that or anything like
Mm-hmm.
that. So uh, man, yeah, that's honestly socially and culturally, it was like almost two different groups that you hung out with. But I mean, being in a predominantly white school, like of course, like it's not like I'm gonna solely hang out with black people like that or anything like that, because you limit yourself to what you can do, what friends you can make. I got white friends that I talk to every day, uh, even at Sanford. So it's just like you can't limit yourself to nothing like that, because it's gonna hurt you in the long run.